pleased to introduce Dr. Archie Wortham, Northeast Lakeview College speech instructor. Dr. Wortham is a retired military member and has lived in this area for 20 years. Dr. Wortham.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Reno,
Good evening.
platform guests, PTK members, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, I want you to know that you can blame Mr. James Miller for the torture you're about to endure. As he asked me to do this, again I might add. I have no idea why he asked me or why I accepted. I'm sure he could have found someone who knew more, spoke better, or was better looking. Well, 2 out of 3 maybe. Just so you know I'm being honest, let me read the email I got after I'd accepted. It read, and I quote, "I forgot to ask, going through this second round, would you mind shortening your contribution to about 10 minutes? The reason is because we now have officers that will want to fill some of the voids." Now, James didn't mention the voids part to me until after I said yes. He knows giving me a time limit is something I respect, but believe me, something happens when people get a chance to speak their mind in public. And I've been known to give so many pieces of my mind to people are beginning to wonder if I have any left. Besides, there are voids to fill. Jesting aside, I'm honored to be here again. Happy our chapter is working hard, has officers, and maybe next time one of them will be your keynote speaker. This is due to a lot of hard work that Mr. Miller and Mrs. Soriano have done, and they are worthy of your thanks. Tonight, I'll do 3 things. I'll address one of the more powerful influences in our world today, the democratization of information. I'll talk about its power, its peril, and its promise. I'll also address how it can help you make a difference. And lastly, end with a brief story. Power. A couple of weeks ago, one of the college's vice presidents and I talked about how some students were more successful than others. How some people with the same resources could build a life so different from the person they sat next to at school. Where did they get that power? From within. Knowing that within them they had the ability to choose certain paths as they hunted for information, sought advice. They had the same opportunities as their peers, but realized the power in information. You have to work to get it. Those that excel, those that achieve, those that are able to drive fancy cars, live in fancy houses, have found a way to get information, and that information gave them power. Now, with power comes peril. We live in perilous times today. Unemployment is high, natural disasters happen, earthquakes in Haiti, hurricanes in New Orleans, Toyotas that won't stop. Nothing in life is free. The more you excel, the more it's expected. You make more money, you pay more taxes. You drive a fancy car, you pay more for gas. You live in a fancy house. You understand what I mean? You feel me? With power comes prosperity, and with prosperity comes responsibility. It is what it is. You may look at it as perilous, but look upon it as opportunity. Look at it as a choice to do something better with your life. Make your neighborhood better. Make your class better. Make your life better. It's scary. Once you get your dream, the question becomes, what are you going to do with it? Hide it? No. You fulfill a promise. You share that promise. You do what I tell my students. You go out and enlighten the world. You make a difference. Mary Ann Williamson, in her book on miracles, tells us, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Don't forget that. It's perilous not to fulfill your promise. To fulfill your promise, get a plan to keep that promise. Nelson Mandela tells us the greatest joy in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. I like to teach. As I teach, my students get to know me. They know I have a PhD, know I like to look like Henry VIII. I also tell them about my fallings. I didn't always get the job I applied to get. I flunked my qualifying exams, but I didn't stop. I have the job of a lifetime right now, teaching something I love to teach. I love to talk, to fill the voids.